These are our men. The Parker Watch Company and its dealers throughout America dedicate this program to the United States Treasury Department for the sale of war bonds. With Robert Merrill as our special guest today, we proudly present the 12th in this series of dramatic programs, These Are Our Men. In the fight for total victory, these are our men. King, Vandergrift, Eisenhower, Nimitz, MacArthur, Arnold, Wainwright, Halsey, Patton, Bradley. And these too are our men. Jones, Smith, Brown, Cohen, Riley, Poppet, Walensky, Snyder. In the past weeks, we've brought you the stories of our leaders. Today, we bring you the story of the men who fight under them. Yes, you've heard the stories of the leaders. Today, we bring you the stories of the men under them. Stories written under fire by the little guy who holds the respect and affection of every American soldier he ever met. These are stories from Ernie Pyle's new book, entitled with Ernie Pyle's simple eloquence, Brave Men.
What is it like before battle? What do they think about? Well, they're afraid. But not afraid of the physical part of dying. That isn't the way it is. The emotion is rather one of almost desperate reluctance to give up the future. To give up such things as seeing the old lady again, of going on to college, of getting married, of holding on your knee just once the kid that you'd never seen, of becoming the champion salesman of your territory, of driving a coal truck around Kansas City once more. Yes, even of sitting in the sun again on the south side of a house in New Mexico. It's these little hopes and ambitions for some bright tomorrow that makes up the sum total of the worry and anxiety in the hearts of the waiting men.
Some bright tomorrow we two will meet again, while on high in the sky there will be a canopy of rainbows. We'll do every little thing that we did before we parted. We'll feel our hearts take wing when we complete all the dreams we started. Sunshine and laughter, the joys that we once knew, they will come on that some bright tomorrow with you.
I don't think you can ever fully understand the ties that grow between men who live savagely together, relentlessly communing with death. They're ties of great strength. There's a sense of fidelity to each other in a little corps of men who've endured so long and whose hope in the end can be so small.
Lieutenant? Yes, Sergeant? I'm supposed to go back to rest camp tonight. I know, but we're due to attack tonight. Yes. Lieutenant, well, I don't think I'd better go. I'll stay if you need me. Of course I need you, Buck. I always need you. But it's your turn. I want you to go. Well, I'd just as soon stay, sir. I know. But you're going. That's an order, Buck. Yes, sir.
Oh, I can't leave my buddies. No, I can't leave my buddies. I'm a poor, lonesome cowboy and a long way from home.
This was in Italy. Sergeant Thorpe, a cowboy from Idaho, came back to the little group of old-timers with whom I was standing. For you'd have thought he was leaving forever.
Well, I guess I'll be going. Good luck to you all.
Thanks, Buck. Get yourself a good rest.
Yeah, I'll only be gone 5 days.
Sure, you'll be back before you know it.
Yeah? Well, so long, everybody.
So long, Buck.
Well, good luck.
Thanks, Buck.
Take me back to be near them. Take me back to be near them. I'm a poor, lonesome cowboy and a long way from home.
It was drizzling, and the valleys were swathed in a dismal mist. Artillery of both sides flashed and rumbled around the horizon. The encroaching darkness was heavy and foreboding. I walked with Buck to the waiting truck, and he kept his eyes on the ground. I think he might have cried if he'd known how.
Ernie,
Yes, Buck?
this will be the first battle I ever missed with this battalion.
Yeah,
I sure do wish him luck.
they know that.
I feel like a deserter.
I went back and lay down on the ground with my other friends, waiting for the night orders to march. I lay there in the darkness, thinking, terribly touched by the great simple devotion of that soldier who was a cowboy. Thinking of the millions of people far away at home who would remain forever unaware of this feeling of the soldier for his comrades.
And you know what's the first thing I'm going to do when I get home?
What?
I'm going to fix it so my kid won't have to fight in the next war.
How are you going to do that?
Well, I'll tell you. First of all, I'm going to take him up on the garage roof, see?
Yeah.
Then I'm going to put 10-pound weights in his hands and make him jump off. That ought to break down the arches. Then I think I'll feed him a little ground glass every now and then to give him a bad stomach.
That ought to make him 4F all right.
Yeah, and I'll make him read by candlelight to ruin his eyes. When I get through with him, he'll be double 4F.
Joe, if I didn't know you so well, I'd say you don't like it over here.
Oh, you know me better than that. I just love this nice mud and that German artillery.
Yeah.
Listen, if I ever get home, they'll have to catch me to bring me back again.
Go on, you'd be home a couple of weeks and read about us over here and remember these bull sessions, and you'd bust out bawling. You'd be so homesick.
Yeah, well, just give me the chance, that's all. Just give me the chance.
Oh, the guns, guns, and the pretty, pretty Huns. What a war, what a war. Oh, the guns, guns, and the pretty, pretty Huns. What a lovely, lovely war.
But they tell me that a lot of American soldiers who have returned to America do get homesick for the front. They get an itch for the old, miserable life, a disgusting, illogical yearning to be back again in a place they hated. I'm sure it's true, but I know a lot of soldiers who'd like a chance to put that theory to the test. Behind me is a distinguished and unbroken record for being sick in every country I ever visited. I'd been in Sicily 5 days when I decided to get sick and get it over with. They established me in a clearing station and finally decided I had battlefield fever. Well, you don't die of that. You just think you will. Then, as I began to feel better, I became aware of the wounded and the dying men who are constantly being brought into the tent.
I feel okay. I think I'm going to make it, Doc.
Of course you will. You'll be all right.
Oh, let me go. I can walk all right. Hey, you got beds here?
Lord, how I want to go to bed.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with me. You don't call that little scratch anything. Come on, let me out of here.
You got to take care of that wound, son. We're going to send you back to the hospital.
I don't want to go to any hospital. I want to get back to my outfit.
Well, you wouldn't do your outfit any good right now, son. You go on to the hospital. They've got some good-looking nurses there.
I don't care about any nurses. I want to get back to where I belong.
Now, take it easy, soldier. Just take it easy.
It was flabbergasting to me to lie there and hear wounded men cuss and beg to be sent right back into the fight. Of course, not all of them did that. It depended on the severity of their wounds and their individual personalities, just as it would in peacetime. But the main impression that I got from all the wounded was their wonderful spirit and the thoughtful and attentive attitude of the men who cared for them. Well, eventually, after having indulged myself long enough to keep my sick record unblemished, I got back to the front. Frontline conversation covers almost every topic in the world.
For $25, I'll eat a double-edged razor blade. Now, what you think of that?
I wouldn't give you 2 bits.
You can't do it anyway.
You just put up $25 and I'll show you, and I'll let you examine the inside of my mouth afterwards.
How do you do it?
I just chew 'em up.
I haven't got $25.
Oh. Listen, you could all pitch in. I'll take a double-edged razor blade, chew her all up, and swallow her down. Now, what you say?
Nah.
Can you really do it, Sam?
Why, sure I can, Ernie. I used to do it all the time before the war. I was offered a job in a carnival.
That's so.
Huh? Say, Ernie,
Yeah.
how about you putting up $25?
No, Sam, I think I'll wait and see it for 2 bits at the carnival.
Oh, it's worth $25 to see a guy eat a double-edged blade. Hey, I wonder if we'll ever get those galoshes they promised us. They've been promising us galoshes for months. What you all with galoshes? To keep my feet dry. My feet haven't been dry for 6 weeks. Take a drink of that lousy cognac they sell in Naples. That'll dry your socks before it hits bottom. No kidding, though. I'd sure like some galoshes.
Oh, forget the galoshes, will you? That's all you talk about, galoshes.
What's the matter? You got to talk about something. Anyway, it's not civilized to go around with your feet wet for 6 weeks. What do you mean civilized? What's that? Back home, we thought we were civilized because we took a lot of baths. I haven't had a bath in 2 months, and I don't feel any different. Maybe people take too many baths anyway.
Maybe they do. Now, take me. I dreamed about hot baths. But when I got home, I'm almost ashamed to admit it, I didn't average more than 1 bath a week all the time that I was there. Now, maybe what we were fighting for is the right to be as dirty as we please. Suits me.
It always rains in the infantry, but we never take a bath. I found a hunk of soap one day, but the dirt began to laugh.
I took a walk along the historic coast of Normandy after D-Day. It was a lovely day for strolling along the seashore. Men were sleeping on the sand, some of them sleeping forever. Men were floating in the water, but they didn't know they were in the water, for they were dead. You know, on that beach lay expended sufficient men and mechanism for a small war. They were gone forever now. And yet, we could afford it. We could afford it because we had our toehold.
Now we lie in the waters with the tanks and the mortars. We're poor lonesome soldiers and a long way from home.
There were soldiers' packs, socks, shoe polish, sewing kits, Bibles, letters from home, snapshots of wives and sweethearts. Staring up at you from the sand. Always there are dogs in every invasion. There was a dog on the beach now, still looking pitifully for his masters. He barked appealingly to every soldier who approached, trotted eagerly along with them for a few feet, and then, sensing himself unwanted, he'd run back to wait in vain for his own people at his own empty boat.
Where the sand is our tombstone, where the water is our graveyard, where our bodies are like driftwood, we're a long way from home.
The strong, swirling tides of the Normandy coastline shifted the contours of the sandy beach as they moved in and out. They carried soldiers' bodies out to sea, and later they returned them. They covered the heroes with sand, and then in their whims they uncovered them. I walked around what seemed to be a couple of pieces of driftwood sticking out of the sand, but they weren't driftwood. They were a soldier's 2 feet. The toes of his GI shoes pointed toward the land that he'd come so far to see, and which he saw so briefly.
Why don't you tell them, Pyle? Why don't you tell them back home what it's really like? All they hear about is a lot of victories and glory stuff. They don't know that every time we advance, somebody gets killed. Why don't you tell them?
I told him that was what I tried to do all the time. You see, this soldier was fed up. His outfit had suffered heavy casualties, and he was exhausted. He was filled with bitterness. And yet, a few days' rest to take it all out of him. He didn't want any credit or glory for himself. He just wanted to be sure the folks at home realized that men were dying.
Some folks at home keep thinking of steak, while the bullets they give us a bellyache.
Hey, Mike, look out! Don't step on it! Oh, my gosh, a mine. Where? I don't see it. It's not a mine. Look, it's a little baby rabbit. A rabbit? Hey, don't ever do that again. I thought I was stepping on a mine.
Say, he's a cute little fella.
Yeah, he's cute. But look, Bill, don't ever do that again, see?
Yeah. Hey, this little fella's hungry. I'm going to take you back and get him some canned milk.
You better leave it here. You can't be toting a rabbit around with you.
Yeah, he's a cute little fella, isn't he?
Strange little things happened on the battlefield. Private Bill Westcott found a little rabbit. He fed it tenderly through an eyedropper. It was quite a little rabbit at that. It hopped around everywhere after Westcott. When the distance got too far, it'd go hopping back to the pup tent and snuggle up in Westcott's blanket. All of the boys were crazy about it. And then, after about a week, we found the little rabbit dead on the grass. Private Westcott, whose own life was in the balance every day, felt awful bad about that little rabbit. It was raining heavily one night. We were all soaked through. We were on our way to clean out an enemy strong point. The young lieutenant kept barking his orders.
Spread it out now. Want to draw fire on yourselves? Come on. Don't bunch up like that. 5 yards apart. Spread it out.
The men didn't talk among themselves. They just went. They weren't heroic figures as they moved forward a few seconds apart. There was a confused excitement and a grim anxiety in their faces.
Spread it out. Come on. Spread it out.
They were afraid, but it was beyond their power to quit. They had no choice.
Hey, Ernie, duck in this doorway, right? Hey, where's your rifle?
Correspondents can't carry rifles. It's international law.
Yeah? Sounds like a silly law if you ask me. Hey, I used to read your column back in Cincinnati, Ernie.
Oh, you did? We're pals then.
Ernie, could you put my name in? Well, the family is better. Big kick out of it.
Well, sure. Here, let me get the name right. Here, you hold my helmet over the pad.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, go ahead.
Private First Class House Place. Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah. Even with the bullets winding down the street, the soldiers were eager for him to get their names so that their folks back home would know they were in there. I ducked from one doorway to another, getting as many names as I could. Names of the actors in one little drama of the war, along the rain-soaked street of a French village.
Oh, will you tell how I died in the infantry so everyone will know? Tell how I killed 100 men before they laid me low.
A final story. I've told you of the feeling that soldiers who face death together have for one another. The feeling those who've stayed at home will never be able to comprehend. Well, this takes me back to Italy and to Captain Henry T. Wasco of Belton, Texas. I have never crossed the trail of any officer so beloved by the men under him.
After my father, he came next.
Yeah, he always looked out for us. He always went to bat for us.
I never knew him to do anything unfair.
I was at the foot of the mule trail the night they brought Captain Wasco down. The moon was nearly full, and you could see far up the mountain trail. Dead men had been coming down the trail all evening, lashed on the back of mules. They came lying belly down across the pack saddles, their head hanging down on one side, their stiffened legs sticking out awkwardly from the other. I don't know who the first one was. You feel small in the presence of dead men, and you don't ask silly questions.
This one's Captain Wasco.
The unburdened mules moved off to their olive grove. The men in the road seemed reluctant to leave. They stood around, and I could sense them moving one by one close to Captain Wasco's body. Not so much to look, I think, as to say something in finality to him and to themselves. I stood close by, and I could hear.
Damn it, sir.
That's all he said. Damn it, sir. And he walked away. And another man came. I think he was an officer. He looked into the dead captain's face and then spoke to him as though he were alive.
I'm sorry, old man.
Then a soldier came and stood beside the officer and bent over. And he said very tenderly,
I sure am sorry, sir.
And then the first man squatted down and took the captain's hand. He sat there a full 5 minutes, looking into the dead captain's face. Finally, he put the hand down. He reached over and gently straightened the points of the captain's collar. And then he sort of rearranged the tattered edges of the uniform around the wound. And then he got up and walked away down the road in the moonlight, all alone.
I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of woe, and there's no sickness, toil, or danger in that bright land to which I go.
Such is the powerful fraternity in this ghastly brotherhood. Something that only our fighting men will fully understand. Thousands of these men will be returning to you before long. They have seen and done and felt things you cannot know. They'll be changed. They'll have to learn how to adjust themselves to peace. And all of us will have to learn how to reassemble our broken world into a pattern so firm and so fair that another great war cannot soon be possible. To tell the simple truth, most of us over in France don't pretend to know the right answer. All we can do is fumble and try once more. Try out of the memory of our anguish and be as tolerant of each other as we can.
Thank you, Carl Swenson, for your fine portrayal of Ernie Pyle. Now the NBC and Victor Record singing star, a young man destined for brilliant new achievements in radio, the concert, and operatic fields, Robert Merrill.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a singer and not a speaker. I think on these programs you've heard all the reasons for buying every war bond you can possibly buy, even that war bond you can't afford. But perhaps I can sum it up and phrase it a bit differently if I sing a song for you. It was written by the conductor and composer of the music for These Are Our Men, Joseph Chernyavsky, and the lyrics are by Mr. A.I. Parker. It is called, as these programs are called, These Are Our Men.
These are our men. These are our men. They'll fight for the right to be free beneath the sun. The price may be high, but the job must be done. No matter the price, till the victory is won. They'll give 'em the gun, so the foe's on the run. In stinking hot cold, or shift the world around, sweating and bleeding. Someone never found. It's learned, oh, Joe said they couldn't fight. It makes a difference when you know you're right. And keep on fighting till victory is won. It's up to us for all they have endured to remember that these are our men. These are our men.
Thank you, Robert Merrill. These are Our Men, featuring today a dramatization of Brave Men by Ernie Pyle, with Robert Merrill as our special guest, has been presented each Saturday by the Parker Watch Company and its dealers throughout America, but not to sell watches. What we ask you to buy is war bonds. Now the message I promised you at the start of the program. The message is this. The Parker Watch Company has prepared a brilliant book portfolio, a wonderful booklet in brilliant colors with the pictures and biographies of all the great American war leaders being dramatized on this series of programs. And in combination with it, a portfolio for the safekeeping of your war bonds, as well as a handy chart for recording the serial numbers of your bonds. For your copy, send 10 cents to cover cost of mailing and wrapping. Address your request to the Parker Watch Company, Post Office Box 14, New York 19, New York. Write today, enclose 10 cents in coin only, and mail to the Parker Watch Company, Post Office Box 14, New York 19, New York, for your copy of our combination book portfolio entitled These Are Our Men. With this program, we end this special series dedicated by the Parker Watch Company to the United States Treasury. Thank you for being with us these Saturday afternoons. music was composed and conducted by Joseph Chernyovsky, with today's special effects by Tom Glazer. And the entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. This is Jack Costello speaking.
This is the National Broadcasting Company.